We're seeing people coming in here. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. So sit in, relax, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. All right, team, we're just at the top of the hour. We're going to give it a few minutes for people to join here as they come in. So just bear with us. We'll get started maybe 1 or 2 minutes after the hour just to ensure everybody gets in. So hang on a couple more minutes and we'll get going. All right, team. Looks like more people are coming in here. I'm just going to give it about 1 more minute and then we'll get underway. And for those coming in, we'll get everybody caught up. So let me give it to 10:02 on my system and then we'll kick it off. All right, team, we're going to get things going here today as people continue to come in. But first and foremost, I want to thank you all, welcome you to our call around AI and all of the great things that IBM is doing around it. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Jeff Anderson. I am the Strategic Business Manager here for all things public sector, federal, and SLED for all things IBM related here at TD SYNNEX. We have a great event for you today. I really want to get into it pretty quick here. You know, AI is a topic in every conversation that's out there right now, whether it's in the news, whether it's in technology, podcasts, everything that's out there in the public sector realm of things. You know, it's very important as well. And I think IBM's got a terrific story, a great solution around why it matters and why, you know, people, clients, agencies should be taking advantage of this. We have two amazing people on with us to go through why this matters. We have Sean Tabbert, who is the principal Watsonx lead for the federal market, here with us. He's going to take us through some of the things around generative AI and AI assistance and how that plays into these markets. And then we have my good friend Anisha Parker as well, who's a program manager for the Office of Privacy and Responsible Technology. She's going to go into the integrating ethics and AI with IBM. So some great things there. Real quick housekeeping. We're going to have a question and answer tab you'll see down there. For each of the sections, we'll have a little bit of time after to go over those questions. So put your question in there, and then what we'll do is we'll review them at the end of each of the presenters' presentation. And then attendees, if you need to chat with one of the panelists, you'll be able to only chat with the panelists. So type that in there, and we will answer and get you what you need from there. So without getting any further into it, I want to bring in Sean Tabbert to kick us off here. Sean, please take us into the conversation and let's go. Thanks.
You bet. Thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks so much, team, for joining and being here and being present and really allowing us to dive in and highlight what we've been seeing within the generative AI space, what we've been seeing within the federal government SLED environments as well. So first and foremost, what we know this, Jeff highlighted, hey, you can't go into a conversation without ChatGPT coming up or generative AI coming up or RAG, which is retrieval, augment, and generate, popping up in some form or fashion. The release of ChatGPT has really democratized and increased the base level knowledge of what AI can do at scale. And now agencies and organizations are starting to look and understand that, hey, this is an extremely powerful tool to be used that can drastically drive operational and organizational efficiencies at scale for us. So we anticipate 39% of the public sector hours are going to be benefited by a human AI collaboration and automation. We see use cases ranging across the board from extending organizational capabilities, enhancing customer or citizen experience. That can be external, that can also be internal, enhancing the experience of internal employees at these agencies is a great use case, as well as scaling employee expertise and driving this forward. So there's a lot of cost reduction, but there's also a ton of expanding capabilities to drive faster decision making. And IBM's not new to this, right? We have been in the AI world, in the AI space forever. And the number of conversations that I have, which is, hey, ChatGPT has an app, I can, pull it up on my phone. Why doesn't IBM go down this path? IBM's made a very strategic choice to be the hybrid cloud and AI vendor for business, for government, for state and local agencies. Our focus is on building trustworthy and responsible AI that can be leveraged by these organizations, not focusing on based usage. But again, we're not new to this. We had generative AI released in 2019, actually, with our project debater tool, where you could come in, ask the system to take a side of an argument, and it would actually debate back and forth with you based on the knowledge that it had on that. We have a full roadmap out to 2030 on where we're going and how we're accelerating in this space. And not for nothing, we are a leader, right? So we've been a leader in all of these areas, conversational AI, since the first Forrester Gartner MQ came out. IBM and Watsonx have been leaders there. But enough about tooting the IBM horn here. I want to definitely get into what we're seeing, because we have delivered, at least within the federal market, over 390 briefings to different departments and agencies around generative AI. Some of this has been education, right? Some of this has been, hey, here's what this can do, here's how it can help you. But of those, 300 plus briefings that we've done, we've also led into pilots that we've built. And I think we have around 72 different pilots that we've actually built out at these organizations as well. The common themes that we see coming up and that are most transactional are really around digital labor. This is leveraging Watson Orchestrate to be able to automate and orchestrate tasks, calling generative AI as necessary in that workflow path, and allowing that end user to drive organizational efficiencies. Use case in customer care. How can we give access to citizens or end users in the channel that they want 24/7 to be able to answer questions that are informational, but also allow them to take action on back-end systems, all through a conversational interface, whether that's through the telephony channel, whether that's through a chat pop-up on a URL, or whether that's through SMS. And then finally, the application modernization. This is an area that is just booming right now. IBM obviously has the ability to use our LLMs and foundation models to generate and explain code in any language. We've seen ADA, we've seen BASIC, we've seen a lot of these other languages where we've done pilots on how leveraging our base foundation model in a trusted and secure way can drive those developers to produce faster. But we've also taken that a step further and built out full applications. The first one is focused on modernizing COBOL to Java. The second one is all around Red Hat and the Ansible playbook generation. Those have much more capability than just leveraging a foundation model for coding update, translation, or transcription. But again, when we're talking about this, especially in the federal space, I can't tell you how many times I am talking to clients and say, hey, I know that there's developers within your organization that are paying the $20 a month to have ChatGPT on their phone, even though it's not approved. And they're asking questions and they're using their judgment to understand what information they can put into the system or not. But you have zero visibility into that, and that is opening a significant threat vector to your agency. So how can you give them that tool, but have that in a trusted, safe, and secure way to drive that forward? But that's not the comprehensive list of use cases, right? So again, with the number of repetition and scale that we're seeing use cases across the board, right? Whether it's virtual assistants handling 90% of inbound interactions, whether it's reducing the cost internally from IBM on HR to 40%, reducing the 40% of the budget, because we're using these tools. Anisha is going to be able to take you through IBM Client Zero's journey on our governance platform. But again, we're seeing these across the board. So it is a very target-rich environment right now to drive forward, have these conversations. And again, when we are doing pilots, we're talking about 2 to 4 weeks maximum to show the minimum viable product, get this into their hands, and then move to production. Here's just another view on that. Again, I will share some of these slides over with you. But what I want to highlight on this is all three of those use cases, the digital labor, customer experience, and app dev and IT operations, all of those are built on top of our core platform, which is Watsonx.ai. This is our AI training and tuning studio where you can pull in any open LLM or foundation model into this tool. IBM has our own foundation models. You may have seen just 2 days ago, we actually open sourced our flagship Granite foundational model, as well as InstructLab. But again, Watsonx.ai, that's really where you can build, tune, and leverage those foundation models. Watsonx.data, this is our open data lakehouse architecture built on Iceberg, Spark, and Presto. Leveraging Watsonx.data, we can have very meaningful and targeted conversations on, hey, are you spending too much money on Databricks right now? Client, I imagine you are, right? And especially now that they just increased their prices by 40%. Here's how we can offload the read work from Databricks, not change your architecture, play nicely with it, and reduce your spend by 40 to 75%. We can have that same conversation with Snowflake. Hey, let us run this script. We'll understand which virtual data warehouses are, let's say, write heavy versus read. Based on that script output, we can have a dollars and cents conversation on by leveraging this open lakehouse architecture alongside Snowflake. We can reduce your spend, again, 40 to 75% is what we've been seeing. And finally, the last piece is Watsonx.governance. And this is hands down the most essential piece and differentiator that IBM is bringing to market right now. None of these use cases in the federal space can go live unless there's a governance strategy in place. And I'm not going to go too deep into governance. I know that's the second half of our call here, but I want to be very clear that any of these AI discussions, when we're having a use case discussion, we're including governance as well. IBM's governance platform is the only holistic governance approach on the market. It ties into GRC. You can import frameworks such as NIST into your use case for a specific AI use case. You can monitor and manage the models, whether those are traditional AI ML or generative AI ML. whether that's in IBM's environment or a third-party environment. End-to-end governance as a whole, which is absolutely essential for any of these use cases to see the light of day. So what's the big shift, right? Like why are we all still, diving in and talking through this? Well, again, traditional AI models, and team, if you have questions, please pop them in. I'm happy to answer. Traditional AI models were very focused on inputs, labeled data, using a data scientist to train those inputs to have a model built for a specific task. What foundation models have allowed us to do is have a base model that's trained on various different external data sources and data sets, have that pre-trained to be able to be used for a multitude of different use cases, then be able to fine-tune with that agency's specific data to drive this forward. And again, I think this number on the far right is low. I've seen a much higher rate where, again, it says 70% reduction in NLP tasks. I'm seeing upwards of 85%. When we're going into our first meeting, we already have a functioning demo with retrieval augment generate ready to go of that agency's or individual's entire website or entire public facing content. These are things that we can show extremely quickly. What we're also seeing across the board are what we'll call the 5 truths of generative AI, right? And this is really shaping the direction of IBM, where we're going and why we're going there. The first is we know that this is going to be a multi-model world. It seems like every single day there's a new model that's been released. There's a new open source model that's coming out. There's more parameters. There's less parameters. Different models are going to be better for different use cases. You need a platform that allows you to select the correct model to use, leverage, and deploy. Also, what we've identified is bigger is not always better. Bigger is much more cost intensive and compute intensive to train or fine tune, and doesn't give meaningful accuracy improvements versus, let's say, a quantized model where we have made the model much smaller that can run on a single GPU. We understand this is going to be multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, right? IBM has a fully containerized stack. We can deploy this into third-party IaaS, whether that's AWS GovCloud, whether that's Azure GovCloud, whether that's on-premise behind an air-gapped firewall. We can deploy this wherever we need to go. Obviously, governance, we talked about this a little bit before, but none of these use cases are going to be able to get to see the light of day unless there's that governance strategy in place and the risk profile is appropriately set. And then once those use cases go live, you have to be monitoring for the bias, the fairness, the drift that starts to come into the model and be getting alerted if that's getting into a inappropriate environment. Scale for value, again, we love to start small. I said, hey, 2 to 4 weeks to be delivering pilots, custom demo on the first discussion, showing and making this real. What happens across the organization is people start to understand, hey, the inputs and outputs of my use cases are a bit different, but the engine is the exact same. Now that I've seen it working over there, I want it working over here as well. And finally, the data matters. We all know this, garbage in, garbage out. How can you have a robust data pipeline to drive out these use cases? And that brings us to our principles, which is open, targeted, trusted, and empowering, right? The number of conversations that I've had of, hey, AI is going to take my job, or hey, I'm fearful of AI and I'm fearful that, if I use your foundation model, you're going to take the data that I use to train it and roll that in and make it accessible to others. These pillars highlight how IBM is not doing that and driving that forward. I also welcome you to Google the AI Alliance. This is an alliance that IBM and Meta started. Now it has a massive amount of members as well, from universities to foreign environments to other companies that have joined on, fully focused on these core tenets of trustworthy and responsible AI at scale. When we look at Watsonx, again, I touched on this briefly before. Really, three legs of this stool: X AI, X data, and X governance. X AI is where you are doing all that training, tuning, validating. X data is an open lakehouse architecture, and X governance is across the board, that holistic governance and monitoring. But what we've also realized is we have to have another application layer where end users can really engage and get value out of these LLMs in the products that they already have. So when we have been infusing generative AI into our tools and into our product set. So first and foremost, Watson Assistant and Discovery, those are core tenants and have been market leaders for a very long time on driving this forward. Those are leveraging Watsonx.ai Watsonx.ai directly. Watsonx.orchestrate. Again, how can we go from having just a simple transactional or informational based bot to actually automating an end-to-end workflow, calling generative AI at the right moments during that workflow to drive significant value? We also have this in our IT operations as well as cyber, where we're rolling these capabilities in. So team, let me pause before I get into some of the use cases that IBM has delivered and some of the deeper dives on our AI assistants. I do want to see if there's any questions that have come in or chats. If not, happy to can keep going here.
There was just one question, Sean, about sending the slides. Yeah, we'll be sending out the recording and stuff after this, guys. So yeah, you'll get the resources. So thank you.
Excellent. Let me just take 3 more minutes of your time and walk through how IBM has leveraged this as well. I have a massive deck of our internal use cases and the value that we've seen. But if you look at, let's say, our Q1 earnings and how the market looked at IBM, which was very favorable at that time, it was because of our free cash flow that we generated by implementing these tools and technologies to drive organizational efficiencies. So that was from enterprise performance management, leveraging AI assistants, as well as Watsonx.ai. We saw over $200 million in savings. Customer service, we were able to reduce our spend by $165 million by having that virtual conversational assistant. Within digital labor, 80% of our IT help desk tickets are answered in an automated way by our Ask IT bot, which went live, by the way, in 100 days from the time we said, hey, we need to leverage this and use this for IT support as well, to going live to our very large organization, 100 days. And HR transformation, again, 40% of our HR budget has been saved by leveraging internal tools such as Ask HR for IBMers, where I can go in and actually get a employment verification letter sent to me. I can transfer employees directly through this, look up compensation information. It's natively integrated to Workday, as well as a number of other backend systems that we have. So again, we're leveraging in this at scale, and we're leveraging AI first anywhere that we can, right? So that gives, again, part of it gives us the right to say, hey, we know this works because we use it every day within our organization. And where else do we see this, across the board, right? So by leveraging these AI assistants that have generative AI tied into them, by leveraging skills and automation processes that already exist, we have the ability to make significant impact in the customer care, sales, supply chain, procurement, finance, and HR space, right? IBM, on the previous slide, we highlighted how we're already taking action in each of these spaces to drive this forward. But procurement is one where we've seen a ton of traction from invoices come in. How can we do OCR on those, extract the right information, pass that right information over to an approver, summarize the entire contract, or allow them to ask questions such as, what's my limits of liability, or what's the indemnification on this contract? Be able to ask those questions directly to the system, getting the answers, and streamlining that process effectively. HR, we've talked about it as well. So again, it is a very target-rich environment for us to go in, have these discussions, and drive this forward. And again, the way that our AI assistants play, it's come in through any channel that you would like. Either go into guided skills, informational skills, conversational skills, automated skills, reach into those backend systems, have a single point of entry for your employees. Right now, the number of conversations I've had with CIOs or senior leaders on, hey, every vendor is coming to me and saying, hey, we have chat built into our tool. Well, what that is doing is, if you fast forward 12 months, you're going to have 18 different tools with 18 different teams supporting them, building out 18 different chatbots that are all still siloed and isolated. So instead of breaking down the walls of those applications and driving efficiencies in workflows, all you've done is build the walls higher and the silos deeper. So again, leveraging IBM and Watson Orchestrate to be that front end that can integrate into any of those backends unlocks tremendous potential. So team, I'm gonna pop through just one or two more slides here. I hate just going through slides, but I wanna see if there's any questions, any comments before we hand it over to Anissa here. But again, IT support, 80% of inquiries resolved 100 days. Over 280,000 IBMers are served, and 50% reduction in tickets that are hitting staff. Driving this forward is extremely powerful of how we are able to leverage this. 785,000 IT tickets, per year. Conversational AI and Ask HR, right? Over 10 million interactions have been gone through the system. 75% CSAT score, extremely high number of hours that have been saved, but over 756,000 hours, notifications, executive usage. I mean, these are tools that we use now every single day, and every IBM uses. And then we go much further than just conversational AI, whether that's case summarization, where we've saved over 150,000 hours, whether it's our promotion management, where again, I think it was 15,000 hours saved for managers going through the promotion process. IBM's using this, we're using this at scale, but most importantly, we're using this responsibly. And that's what Anissa is going to be talking about on our intake and leveraging these tools and capabilities. So let me hand it over to you. Or before that, if there's any questions, Jeff, happy to answer.
I do not see any out there right now. I think that we are set. Thank you, Sean. That was awesome. Great job. And Anisha, I'm going to pass it on over to you to take us into the ethical portion of things. So please take us away.
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Sean, for walking through all the capabilities that we offer here at IBM. And I'll first introduce myself. I'm Anisha Parker, and I'm happy to join you to talk about how we integrate ethics in AI at IBM. So this mission really falls within my office, the Office of Privacy and Responsible Technology. But it's really a company-wide initiative as well that's infused through the culture that we create at IBM. And specifically, my role within my team is to turn elements of our internal journey to AI ethics and our internal governance operations into resources for the market. So at the end of this, you'll see a resources slide with a slew of information, case studies, point of views, white papers, that you guys can take along with you to, go in a deeper level into the things that I'll be covering here today. And I also just want to say, I really love when I get the chance to talk with clients and partners, because oftentimes we have similar challenges. In this case, I'm pretty sure, you recognize the impact that AI and generative AI can have that, Sean just went through. But we're also tasked with the challenge of how to use and govern it responsibly. So I'll be walking through how we do that at IBM. So in the era of generative AI, the promise of AI is greater than ever. Yet an increasingly complex global regulatory landscape can pose a significant barrier to AI adoption. It gets scary. According to a recent IBV study for executives, less than 60% felt that their organization was prepared to meet regulatory obligations concerning AI, and 72% reported that they were choosing to forgo the benefits of generative AI over their concerns about AI ethics and safety. So that just shows that organizations that can readily meet their regulatory obligations concerning AI and demonstrate the safety of their AI products will realize a significant competitive advantage. So now is the moment to really hone in on responsible AI adoption. As I mentioned, the AI policy and regulatory landscape is constantly evolving. This requires companies to keep up to date and ensure their governance frameworks allow for compliance with a patchwork of incoming regulatory requirements, from regional laws like the EU AI Act to country-specific laws and even local laws like the New York's Automated Employment Decision Tool Law. Some regional and country-specific laws like the EU AI Act have extraterritorial reach. So all companies, regardless of jurisdiction, must understand and comply with their requirements. And I also love this chart because it shows the breakdown you'll see in the top right of privacy, AI, and data governance laws. And if we would have looked at this chart 1 or even 2 years ago, it would have been covered in deep blue, which represents privacy. But now we can see that royal blue really shining through, and that's the impact of AI. IBM is advocating to make sure these regulatory frameworks work together. Regulation does not need to be identical, but it should be compatible when you have to comply against various jurisdictions. As an example of our advocacy, our Chief Privacy and Trust Officer, Christina Montgomery, testified to the US Senate on the oversight of AI for them to generate rules for AI, where she leveraged IBM's thought leadership to educate legislators and advocate for a precision-based approach to AI regulation. Now, what is our precision-based approach? IBM has 3 key policy positions: to regulate AI risks, not the algorithms, to make AI creators and deployers accountable, but not immune to liability, and to support open AI innovation, and not to have a bunch of AI licensing requirements. Governments must reinforce trust through AI regulation that is risk-based, prioritizes liability over licensing, and supports open source innovation. All right, now concerns around trust, rights, and safety are at the forefront of many of the recent commitments and initiatives and actions around the world. Just in the past year, there have been major strides to ensure AI is used responsibly. You'll see some highlighted here on the chart. And in the absence of a federal framework, states are looking to enact their own laws for AI. Just 2 weeks ago, the Connecticut Senate proposed requirements on the use of automated decision-making technology, imposed penalties for creating deepfake content, and set a deadline for AI developers to take reasonable care to protect consumers from any known or foreseeable risk of algorithmic discrimination. Connecticut's risk-based framework serves as an example of a positive path forward for AI regulation at the state level, and other states across the country should also follow suit. Not to mention, it aligns with IBM's precision-based approach. So I spent all this time on regulation because it's important to note that these IBM policy views are a reflection of how IBM is assessing the AI that we use and develop with these same concerns in mind. Now, going into the benefits of generative AI, but also the risks. So previously, Sean went through, the benefits of traditional AI versus the benefits of generative AI. There are also risks that come along with traditional AI, but are also new when it comes to generative AI, or either amplified. The rise of generative AI increases the attention paid to for the risks of AI. On the right side of the chart, you'll see a list of some of those risks, and at the bottom are the risks of traditional AI. And as we move up the chart, you'll see a list of risks that were amplified by generative AI. These risks have significant implications for how AI is designed, developed, deployed, used, and governed. And companies that understand these risks and how to mitigate them will realize a competitive advantage in terms of customer trust and regulatory preparedness. This is an example. This material was actually pulled from a white paper that the IBM AI Ethics Board created that emphasized the risks of foundation models. So this will be an example of some of the resources that I mentioned that we produce that can help you educate your clients on what some of those risks are and why AI governance is truly important. Okay, so with the understanding of not only the risks associated, but the evolving regulatory landscape on AI, the adoption of AI generates a lot of questions that apply to us too at IBM. Do we have the right organizational governance structures in place to ensure equitable outcomes from AI? Do we have a comprehensive inventory of AI models and systems? Do we have trusted data pipelines? While we don't have all the answers to these questions, we've identified two critical components that create a holistic approach to AI governance. And I'll walk you through them. The first piece is organizational AI governance, and the second is AI model governance. It's really the people, the process, and the technology. So first, I'll quickly hit on organizational AI governance. That covers the strategy behind what your principles, policies, and processes are, and who owns the mission to govern and train the organization on those principles, policies, and processes. Then I'll come back to AI model governance later in my presentation. So luckily, by the time generative AI took a turn, we had these principles and pillars in place. And they guided us through the responsible use of traditional AI and are still crucial in how we utilize generative AI at IBM. The first pillar, the purpose of AI is to augment, not replace human intelligence. Data and insights belong to their creator, so you always own your data. And 3, new technology, including AI systems, must be transparent and explainable. And all of these capabilities are foundational to our Watsonx product suite as well. And on the right, you'll see our 5 pillars of trust, which are really our focus areas for ensuring trustworthy AI. So our multi-layered governance structure enables accountability and participation at all levels of the business, giving everyone a role to play when it comes to integrating ethics. The PAC. At the top is our Policy Advisory Committee, and they are comprised of senior executives at the SVP level. They set IBM's top-level policy vision, including policies for tech ethics and privacy. At the next layer, we have the AI Ethics Board. The PAC oversees the work of the AI Ethics Board And they're really the heart of the ethical decision-making at IBM. The board is tasked with instilling a culture of responsible and trustworthy AI across the business through a centralized governance, review, and decision-making process. The board is co-chaired by our Chief Privacy and Trust Officer, Christina Montgomery, and our AI Ethics Global Leader, Francesca Rossi. And it's consisted of about 24 senior leaders from across the business, ranging from marketing, sales, HR, and more business units. And these leaders are typical vice presidents, directors, distinguished engineers, and managing partners within our markets. They meet on a regular cadence to review any escalated use cases, discuss any new issues or questions related to tech ethics, and receive briefings on regulatory advancements. And at the bottom of the pyramid, you'll see our IBM business units. Finally, the board is also supported by the various IBM business units through AI ethics focal points and business unit privacy and AI leaders. The focal points are the first line of defense when it comes to a use case review. They're also responsible for communicating with their business units about tech ethics related matters and educating their business units about the latest tech ethics policy, regulations, requirements, and programs that we have. In short, this governance structure facilitates easier collaboration and communication between various levels of the company and supports our vision of a culture of trustworthy AI that everyone participates in and contributes to. So as mentioned previously, at the center of IBM's AI efforts is the AI Ethics Board. And one of the main work streams of the board is the use case review process. This is how we manage the risk at the proposal, solution, and use case level for all technical solutions. And for AI solutions, we have the algorithmic impact assessment, which has 2 steps, an applicability assessment and an evidence questionnaire. These terms might become a little familiar because they're referenced in not only the EU AI Act, but also from the US government as elements of evidence that should be required whenever an AI system is used. So it's something that we've implemented for a few years now. But because of that advocacy and push for compatibility, it's been influenced in legislation. So that's a key point for leveraging IBM technology because of our position in the market and influence. So even more with our ethics by design process, which is supported by a corporate directive, it is required for our developers and data scientists to follow this methodology, which essentially identifies the process in which a system should be developed and deployed. So I talked about the organizational AI governance. Now I'm going to move over to the automated AI model lifecycle governance, where you account for development and deployment, operations, the onboarding, monitoring, and management of a model throughout a lifecycle. And here you can see some of the owners. So who would be involved in the development and the deployment? The dev teams, the IT leaders, the chief data office, the software and data science leaders, and the operations. Again, you're talking IT leaders, ML ops, and the same for the monitoring and portfolio management. To combat the need of AI model governance, IBM has developed an integrated governance program. And because of the privacy regulations like GDPR, IBM had already developed a pretty comprehensive compliance program. But with AI regulations emerging and the need to ensure IBM's AI is trustworthy, we've expanded the scope to focus on data, privacy, and AI. And that's what you see here. So at the start of this operating model, we have organizational governance with our AI ethics board. This serves as an as-needed element within the process, typically at the design stage or to govern already developed systems. So we have that use case review process that can determine guardrails and mitigation techniques for things that have already been deployed. Then we move to the AI system and model build as if we were creating a brand new AI application, where each use case will be built in accordance with IBM's Ethics by Design framework. Next, we move on to data governance that collects the facts about the data, the process to clear the data, takes inventory of the cleared data sets that can be reused for new models in the future. Moving on to model lifecycle management, where the model is trained on clear data sets, regardless of origin, and tuned and tested and evaluated throughout its lifecycle. And then finally, our integrated compliance process that brings all of our assets and processing activities into a single inventory and allows us to filter in scope inventory for a given regulation and launch targeted compliance campaigns depending on that regulation. Our IGP enables IBM to adopt AI at scale, bring AI products and services to market at speed, and increase speed to compliance. And this model exists today and serves as the mechanism that our products and foundation models go through. And look at IBM. We now have the products that can help achieve each of these components. So within the Office of Privacy and Responsible Technology, we're working to migrate to Watsonx ourselves. And this really gives our clients a framework to model what AI governance looks like and look at OPRT as client zero for AI governance by integrating our Watsonx product suite. So in the organizational governance, we can leverage Watsonx.governance. In the AI system and model build, leverage Watsonx.ai. In our data governance and data clearancing process, leverage Watsonx.data. And then the final two steps, model lifecycle management and integrated compliance, once again, leverage Watsonx.governance. So bringing up some of our partnerships and collaborations, Sean mentioned the AI Alliance and some of the other initiatives that we participate in, but this kind of gives you a holistic view of all the different areas that we contribute to. You know, we contribute to diverse global efforts in shaping AI metrics, standards, best practices with and through these alliances, affiliations, and governments. The partnerships highlighted are just a few that we're involved with, and we enter into new partnerships and collaborations often to further AI ethics around the world. So our experience, in short, our experience developing and deploying our integrated governance program, combined with our broad and deep AI ethics expertise, our ongoing policy leadership and advocacy, our proven ethics by design and governance methodologies, and our robust catalog of trustworthy AI tools, including Watsonx governance, uniquely position us to help organizations put ethics at the forefront in this era of generative AI. And our Granite Model series stands apart in its transparency about data sources and training methods, as well as contractual protection for IBM developed foundation models, enabling our clients to be more confident in the safety of the AI they create with us. So I'm here to be a testament of what you see is kind of what you get with IBM. We create AI responsibly. We use that very technology to ensure that we're governing it properly. As I mentioned, I will provide a bunch of resources here for you. So this will be available after this session, but this is where you can find our latest case studies, point of views, blogs, us in the news, resources, maturity assessment if you don't know where to start. And all of this stuff is also linked on ibm.com/impact/AI ethics. And I thank you. So we'll pause for questions. Hopefully I left some time for both of us.
No, you did, Anisha, and great job today. All that information is so important and imperative when it comes to you know, what client and agencies worry about what they're doing. And I love that you guys are utilizing it in your own environments to say, hey, we're the best use case because we're using it, you know, with what we do. So excellent work there. I do not see anything in the question and answer portion. So are there any questions at this time for Anisha that we can bring up? If you want to type it out in the Q&A, raise your hand. I think you covered it so well, Anisha, that everyone's just taking their notes and they're going to go and sell loads of Watsonx for all these great values that you guys brought today and have positioned. But got about 11 minutes. I just want to make sure that nobody types like I do. But I do not see any questions out there. Well, team, I tell you what, while I look at that, I do want to thank everybody for joining today. What we'll do is we're going to send the recording out. We'll send out some of the materials as a follow-up as well to all of those that attended today. So look for that to come and use these things and reach out to the team. David Johnstone, myself, reach out to the IBM teams. You work with Doreen Dombrowski a lot. You know, she's going to be out there. We're all working towards the same goals here, and we all have the same things to help you as a partner to position this and to get your clients and the agencies you're working with what they need. So with that, I think we're going to close out the call, Felicia, and then we'll follow up with everybody after. If there's anything that comes up in the meantime, reach out to the team. Thank you again for attending our webinar today. And with that, we'll close it out. Thanks so much, team.